A life of extraordinary impact is really a stack of extraordinarily impactful moments put one on top of the other. And these extraordinary moments are not the product of happenstance. The common thread that connects them all is your mindset. Believe it or not, we're all the way in session 10 of this Understanding and Evolving Your Psychology series. And today, we're really going to be putting the pieces together around everything we've learned about how your mind works, what is most motivating to you, how you're wired internally. We're going to be turning all of that to look at your mindset when it comes to maximizing your impact out in the world. And you know, as someone with a calling to make the world a better place, how important that impact actually is to your sense of well-being, to your state of mind in any given moment. If you're not feeling dialed in, if you're not feeling like you're really contributing, your mindset is, your state of mind is going to suffer. Last time we talked about energy. In session 9, we talked about the mindset that you have or that you can bring to maximize your energy. Today, we're turning our focus to impact. And next session, we're going to be talking about joy. And then finally in session 12, we'll wrap it all together. So as we get started here and thinking about how you dial in your mindset for maximum impact, it's important to remember this distinction we talked about last time, the difference between your state of mind in the moment and your mindset over time. We use this framework from cognitive behavioral psychology quite a bit to talk about your state of mind being determined by three things in any given moment: your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. And if you want to change how you're feeling in the moment, you just need to change one of those things, right? And it's hard to change your feelings directly. So one of the most powerful things you can do is actually to change what you're thinking or to change what you're doing. But your mindset is not just your state of mind in the moment. It's really a series of moments stacked up where you sort of build the mental architecture to show up in a certain way, to have a certain set of feelings, have a certain set of thoughts, take a certain set of actions again and again and again. And that's how we can think about and define your mindset. And that's really what we're playing for. When we talk about understanding and evolving your psychology, a huge part of it is actually elevating your mindset, developing these habits of mind that contribute to your well-being. And because you are someone with this call to make the world a better place, dialing in your mindset around the impact that you're producing out in the world is fundamental to your sense of well-being, not just in the moment, but over the whole course of your life. So let's talk about how we actually think about that. And as before, we have a series of journaling questions here. And what I really invite you to do in this session is to reflect on these questions here with me now in the moment, but also to step back and use these prompts as an opportunity for reflection. You could journal on any one of these questions probably for a few minutes and come up with something that was valuable for you, or you could take it as a series. What we've actually done in this worksheet on the third page is we've created a fillable PDF where you can kind of distill whatever you're getting in response to these questions and create a one-page sheet. And I find these sheets to be really a powerful tool for me. So I'm eating my own cooking here. This is my sheet for this worksheet that I carry around with me. And on the flip side of this is the session that we did last time about your energized self. And these sheets are like it's almost like a cheat sheet. It's a little reminder. It's a note to yourself, or it's this capturing this dialogue we talk about all the time between your present self and your future self. These are almost it's like a recipe, a set of instructions to remind yourself, hey, this is how I need to show up. These are the things that I need to do to produce that state of mind that leads to my greatest impact. And when I do that consistently, I actually cultivate this mindset that sustains over time. And that's how I stack up extraordinarily impactful moments, one on top of another, so that over the course of my life, I'm actually achieving extraordinary impact in pursuit of my vision for a better world, my mission, the calling that I'm trying to answer. So let's talk about these questions in a little bit more detail. And maybe to help illustrate, I'll share with you a little bit about how I answer these questions for myself so that you can maybe prompt some reflection as you go through this yourself. So this first question, what is your ultimate vision for yourself as a change agent? And, if you had this part of your life just nailed, what contribution would you be making to other people? And what would you get to do yourself? What feelings? Remember that triangle, those thoughts and feelings. This is really important to be thinking about. Like, hey, when I'm operating at my highest vision for impact, these are the thoughts and feelings that I'm generating and the actions that I'm taking out in the world. What is that doing for other people? What am I contributing to other people? And so my answer to this is, when I am really firing on all cylinders, I am contributing deeply and adding massive value to thousands of people at the intersection of personal development, social change, and philanthropy by getting billions of dollars off the sidelines and into the hands of social entrepreneurs with passion and proximity to the issues that matter most to our shared future. And I'm loving life, I'm living out my vision, and I'm contributing at my very best. So that's my ultimate vision for impact. And don't be afraid, if the gap between where you are and your vision is a big one. That's exactly why, dialing in this mindset for impact is so important, because we get there through a series of moment to moment to moment. And starting small is no embarrassment, right? I mean, even in sharing with you that I have a vision to impact thousands of people, I'm not impacting thousands of people now, but that's certainly what I hope to do if I live out my vision to its fullest. The next piece is really around, and I'm just going to work off the worksheet itself so you can see where I am here, the ultimate purpose. This really goes to your why. Why is it so important for you? You really want to have clarity about this, because understanding the what, your vision itself, is key, but really tapping into your motivation behind that is sometimes even more powerful. And so for me, and again, I'm just going to share this with you in the spirit of vulnerability. I was put here on this earth to bring people together, to heal, to make whole, to help, and to catalyze others to develop their greatest selves. By doing what it takes to show up as my most impactful self day in and day out, I'm doing my best to live out God's purpose as part of a whole that is much larger than myself. So that's, the distillation of, I did a bunch of journaling. It may not be perfect, but that for me is the kind of expression of my deepest why when it comes to answering my call to serve other people. And maybe it's not easily reduced for you. Maybe you haven't really reflected on it deeply, but this is an opportunity to dig into your why a little bit more deeply. And something that we find a lot in working with people who have this calling is they know they feel it, but they haven't completely examined it. And sometimes they worry that deconstructing it will take away its power. And I can just share from my own experience that really, it's quite the opposite. The more you understand about your why, the more powerful it actually becomes. The next one is really fun. You can think of this as like your identity, your high impact identity. And playing around with words is really powerful. We do this a lot in coaching. We play with metaphors because the language that you're using is often one of the most direct ways that you and your future self, or you and your unconscious self, can communicate. And so when you harness language that's really fun, joyful, meaningful, inspiring to you, even if it seems a little goofy to other people, it can really help connect you and bring that future self, that unconscious self, even closer into alignment with yourself in this moment. And so a couple of identities that I play around with that I love to have. One is extraordinary ally. I want to show up for other people as an ally in an extraordinary way. Trusted advisor to the all-stars of forward-thinking philanthropy. This is a big part of what I do as a philanthropic advisor. I aspire to be a trusted advisor, and we've got posts on that. That's sort of a deep concept in itself, but that's what I'm aspiring to. And then entrepreneurial coach to a new greatest generation of change agents. That language means a lot to me because I think the world's on fire, and we've never been more in need of a new greatest generation. So whatever the language is for you, whatever the roles are, you want to sort of tap into those and have fun with them. And again, don't be afraid to sound a little bit goofy or sort of let yourself show in this space, because you don't have to show this to anyone else, but it can be there to inspire you. The next one is around key feelings and rules to show up as my most impactful self. Now, going back in this series, back to session 5, session 6, session 7, we looked at this concept of feelings and the distinction between emotions and feelings, and then the rules that you have for experiencing certain feelings. And this is a concept that Tony Robbins and other people who've developed a fair amount in human needs psychology talk about a lot. The idea being that your feelings are really constructed by you, and you get to choose how you experience those feelings. Again, if we think back to that cognitive behavioral triangle, right? your feelings are actually connected to your thoughts and your actions. And we often experience feelings as if they're happening to us. They're driven by some external event. But in fact, you really get to choose. Your emotions are the immediate responses to external stimuli that you don't get to choose. You might have a flash of anger, for example. But if you stay with that feeling of anger for a period of time, you're making a choice about that. You're constructing a feeling and sustaining it over time using your thoughts and sometimes even your actions. So you want to think a lot about how you are constructing your feelings related to impact and the rules that you have for experiencing those feelings. And I won't read you all of this because it's a lot, but the key feelings that really connect for me around impact are the love of my family, the contribution, a feeling of contribution to equity and progress in the world, presence, joy, clarity and commitment, and integrity. And I actually have a definition for each one of those things, a sentence or two that explains like what I need to do in order to experience that feeling. For example, the love of my family. When I deeply cherish my family members, I am laying the foundation for my highest impact self. For me, that's the very first one, that actually my biggest impact out in the world starts with being present and loving and joyful with my own family. And sometimes as change agents, we feel so strongly called to serve out in the world that we can look over those who are closest to us. And I've really learned that my best impact, the way to stack up those extraordinary moments and to show up with that kind of impact day after day, is to really put my family first. And it's easy to voice those words. And certainly if you talk to my family, they'll probably tell you there are many times when I slip up and fall short of that standard. But that's really, for me, the bedrock of the feelings that I want to generate and the rules that I have about doing them. So I really encourage you to dig deep yourself and think about what are those feelings and the rules that you have in order to experience those feelings and lay them out for yourself. Next is your go-to actions to maximize your impact. And you could think of these as like your superpowers or your power moves, these things that like sometimes you call them 3 to thrive or 5 to thrive. Just like, hey, if I just do this, I'm going to be in a place where my mindset is really primed for impact. And so for me, it's planning my day the night before. It's actually using this system and mapping out my day the night before. We've got a planning system that, at some point we'll share up on the website. It doesn't matter to me really what system you use, but I suspect that for many of you, planning and sort of getting that clarity about what's truly most important is going to be a power move. Wherever you are in your own practice of doing that, chances are it's going to be pretty connected to maximizing your mindset for impact. Another one for me is planning my week, my month in advance, again, using the same system. Starting my day with dedicated time for deep work. That's been a huge breakthrough for me, and not starting in my email, not starting my inbox, but starting with what's truly most important, where I can contribute at my highest, so that after the first couple hours of my workday, I know I've already made a big contribution, and the rest, can kind of flow from there. Taking deep breaks, right? So not actually trying to go deep, intense work hour after hour. Taking really deep breaks, doing silly things, dancing around, exercise, whatever it is for you. I suspect that may also be something that for a lot of you is you're not doing enough of. You are probably, the pattern I used to have was lots of shallow work, feeling guilty if I wasn't working during the day. Perish the thought that I should pick up a novel in the middle of the day. Well, you know what? If you're doing that deep, intense work, take a deep break. It's fine. You're actually going to have way more impact than you ever did in your previous practices. And paying attention to the fundamentals of sleep, nutrition, and exercise for me is really something that I just know I need to do to maximize my mindset for impact. So resources to rally. This is like what's out there in the world, people, places, things that you can call on to really dial in that mindset. Family, coaches. I have a couple coaches, and I just believe in coaching. I've worked with my coach Jeff Fort for about 4 years now, and he's just been so instrumental in helping me really maximize my impact. So when I'm struggling with something, I have someone that I can bring it to, that I can problem solve with. That's such a valuable modality. And one of the things about coaching is you can learn to coach. That's actually an incredible way of serving yourself. And so you can play that role for other people and kind of play it forward. This whole community of folks that I work with in Joyful Impact, the team at Building Impact, all of these folks are in my world in a way where if I connect with them in a positive way, it really builds my own impact. So I encourage you to think creatively. Also, nature is very important to me. It may be for you too. There may be certain places that are really, even if you just go there once a year, or even if you can't visit there physically now, if you can connect to that in some way spiritually, whatever it is for you, you want to think about those resources that really inspire you to step up at the very highest level of impact. And then this next one, impact kryptonites and kryptonite cures. Brian Johnson at Optimize Me talks about this a lot when he, just in his general approach to optimizing, right? You want to think about the stuff that, is it like a rock of kryptonite that, it's big, it's like a boulder and you just need to stay away from it? Or is it like kryptonite dust that just settles finely over a whole area and makes it hard for you to make progress? I know for me that sleep is, if I'm not getting good sleep, that's kryptonite for my impact. And so I've, back on the kryptonite cure side, I've done a lot to optimize my sleep. This Aura ring, there's lots of other things out there. There are plenty of books and we've done posts on this separately. Even if it's silly, if it seems strange, if it's working for you and it's helping you make the world a better place and it's not hurting anyone else, I encourage you to experiment and adapt that engineer's mindset to really find your way around obstacles to impact in your life. Other ones for me, lack of clarity or planning. If I don't really know what the highest sort of and best contribution I can make in any given day or any given week or any given month is, how am I going to go after it? It's just going to be random. Stacking up those extraordinary moments is much harder if you don't know what you're looking for when it comes to extraordinary. And when you harness your unconscious mind, which in some ways is like your best self, your future self, it's out there looking for you. And those extraordinary moments seem to come more frequently, more often. So I really encourage you to think about those kryptonites and those kryptonite cures and give yourself the gift of, writing this down and actually capturing it in a single page. Many times, you can get tremendous benefit in this coaching pathway or many others just by reflecting on these questions. And that's certainly true here too. But if you write this down, if you capture this for yourself, I find that it's a tremendous opportunity for me to maximize my joy and impact, to come back to this, when I'm doing a weekly plan or a monthly plan, or I'm just not feeling like I want to in terms of impact. I'm feeling, I come back to this and I remind myself of what is really the bedrock for me for maximizing that mindset of high impact over time. If you like this video and you want to access the worksheet or any other material that goes with it, just click the link below or head on over to joyfulimpact.co. That's the website where we have all the material we use for working with coaching and personal development for change agents. You can set up a free account in the members area, and you can also check out the blog where we have new content coming out all the time. Why are we putting all this out there for free? Because the world has never been more in need of a new greatest generation of change agents. I hope this material is helpful to you, and if it is, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. That will help us spread the word.